Hey folks, again, chapter module 5 is also listed for for the particular week that you guys are on right now. And again, there's so much information here. If it wasn't enough for module 4 with all those various theories, now you have a whole set of other types of theories, such as social cognitive theory, diffusion of innovations. You've got social marketing, you've got community organizing, you've got communication theory, you've got organizational change. It is a lot. Now, the textbook, I think, does a really good job at kind of breaking these things down for you, but there's a lot. The devil's in the details on a lot of these, and I'm not. The slides, I think, are pretty well self-explanatory. These are very popular theories. These are, some of them, you're going from. They're very social processing, and so one thing that I did want. I'll briefly just mention, because without it, I don't think you'll have any kind of context. Diffusion of innovations is really good. You can look through all this, and the book does a really good job of kind of helping you with that. When we think about social processing, social process theories, social marketing is one of the things that come to play. And social marketing, health communications, these types of things come into play. And I think everybody is pretty well informed and kind of has a general idea of how what people in marketing do, but we do the very same thing in health, and we do it with products or with services, or we're trying to get our voice noticed. And so we're trying to influence people to have better health, and we want them to do it's out there. It's not so much a theory. In fact, it's not a theory, but it's approach and how we promote health behavior. And it's just not enough for us to have the facts, because there are so many different voices out there. If you go online, and I mean, let's think about this. So we have measles outbreaks right now that are going on, but you have a lot of people that are out there who don't vaccinate their children because, number one, they have all this erroneous information regarding vaccines causing autism, and that it's actually going to make things worse. And so, one of the reasons that we have the measles outbreak that we are having right now is because enough people are not doing that. So they're listening to someone else, and maybe there are different reasons for that. But yet we know what vaccinations do. You and I are living in a time where we don't see what happens when people are not vaccinated for some of these very infectious diseases, although measles is very infectious, and it does a lot of harm to the body and to people around you, and it actually just tanks your immune system after that too, leaving you more susceptible to other things that are going on out there. So, but it's not enough for us to say that vaccinations are good, and here's why we want you to do that. How do we get our voice heard in all of this? In all of the information that's out there. Not everything on the internet is true, right? We want to influence consumers. We want to influence people to be vaccinated. We want people to eat healthy. We want people to lessen their smoking. We want people to I don't know, one of the nicer things I see out there right now is that I'm finally starting to see some advertisements and marketing for HIV medications. You never used to see that unless you were in a particular part of the population and in particular venues and magazines. But now it's on TV now, and so that's a really good thing. Let me so social marketing is out there. What I wanted to bring to the table is just that some of this information out here. Western North Carolina AIDS Project is a great organization here in our region, and so they're located over in Asheville. And so I gave an example of some of the things that they are doing, or they have been doing, as a part of social marketing. So when I was doing my practicum for my doctoral degree, I went over and I worked with them, and this was going on at the time, and this was called "I Need You to Know" campaign. And so what they were trying to do is have an influence upon the people in their region. So they're already an AIDS service organization. They already have a lot of things that are going on, but how do they market that? And then also, how do they market good health? How do they, it's not just that they serve people who are living with HIV and AIDS, but they were also out there as an educational process to lessen that. And so how do you do that? And so you can learn more about them if you go to their website. This was a part of a campaign that was going on while I was there, and this was called I Need You to Know. And so they were specifically trying to address stigma regarding HIV and AIDS. And so we know that that is out there. But what they were doing, they had a series of public service announcements. They had posters, they had radio spots, they had TV spots, they had billboards in the greater Asheville area. To address this. And so this is an example of one of the posters that was put out there, one of the ads that was out there. Here's the thing. These aren't cardstock people. These aren't professional actors. These were actually people living in the community that people would know. We shouldn't make the assumption that everyone in here was HIV positive, but in one way or the other, they agreed to have their faces and their lives and their stories talked about because they wanted to see some change. And of course, the studies actually, we know that the more people that you know individually living with HIV, the less likely you are to be to stigmatize either the behavior or the condition itself. And so these were actually local people within the community. Here's another example, because what do we think HIV in our area looks like? Does it look like this? Or does it look like this? And so all of these people agreed to have their names, their faces associated with this. And so it was a really good tool, and it went on for quite a while. And even here's another example of a poster. Do we think about different types of populations that go along with this particular illness? Would we even consider that children could be at risk depending upon their situation? So part of their social marketing here was part of the pledge. There was information here. Here was a pledge that they asked people to complete for them that they kept on file at some of their events that they had. Here's an example of some of their public service announcement scripts that they had. And so, and in trying to reach people, you might, for example, you wouldn't talk about this in the same ways for people from the gay community as you would say from maybe the African American women community. You need to target that. You need to tailor that to the differences there. And then if you're so inclined, there are some different public service announcements that are out there that are available for you to kind of take a look at. I'm very proud of this. This was a good thing. But this is just an example of social marketing and what we can do with that. Now, again, there's a lot of information that's listed out here for this particular module. I think the slides do a pretty good job of working through that, and also your textbook. So I'm not going to read through this, but read the text, see what you can get out of these particular theories. And again, one of the reasons you might want to do this is because you've got to think about how you want to approach your intervention, and it does need to be from a theoretical background. And so these would be something for you to consider. Of course, there are other things out there, but I think it's given you a lot of information. So